What is the citizenship test, and how is this test given at your naturalization interview? Hi, I'm SohYoon Atac. I'm an attorney and one of the founders of Adam Law Group. We plan to release weekly videos about the law, starting with immigration, and as the channel grows, hopefully we'll expand to cover some of the other areas of the law that we work in. The citizenship test tests you on two subjects, your command of the English language and your knowledge of US civics. So that covers topics like American history and laws, including the US Constitution. Everyone who applies for naturalization, so you've applied to become a US citizen, must take the citizenship test. So first of all, congratulations on pursuing US citizenship. That is so exciting. Having said that though, just like with most things having to do with US immigration, there are some exceptions and accommodations having to do with the citizenship test, but I'll cover that in another video. So the citizenship test is given by the USCIS officer at your naturalization or citizenship interview. And you can think of the citizenship interview as like two broad parts. One is the citizenship test itself, and the other portion is where the officer will ask you questions and go over to determine whether you are qualified otherwise to become a US citizen. By the way, it's totally okay and probably normal to feel nervous about the citizenship test. I've even represented college professors who are like professional academics be nervous about the citizenship test, so it's totally okay. The English portion of the citizenship test consists of a reading, writing, and verbal portion. So the reading portion will be a sentence that you have to read, and the officer will hand you a sheet, or sometimes it could be on the tablet that you see on the desk there, but probably on a sheet of paper, and they'll ask you to read sentence number 1. And typically they're a pretty short sentence, something like, the Mississippi is the longest river in the United States, something like that. And so you would just have to read the sentence for the officer, and you get a maximum of 3 tries. So if you aren't able to read the first sentence, you'll get to try 2 more times. But if you read the first sentence correctly, then you're done with the reading portion of the English test. USCIS provides a list of the words that are often used for this portion of the test. And so the link for that is in the description below. The officers are used to all different types of people, ones that speak softly or loudly, with accents, without accents. But either way, you should speak slowly and loudly enough so that the officer can understand you, and make sure to enunciate the words really clearly. The writing portion of the English test consists of you writing 1 sentence that is spoken by the officer. And just like for the reading portion, you get a maximum of 3 tries. That means the officer will read a sentence and then you write that. And if that's okay, then you're done. But if not, then you'll get 2 more tries. So a sample sentence the officer might say, which you have to write down with your handwriting, would be something like, the Atlantic Ocean is on the East Coast, something like that. And here, just like for the reading portion, USCIS provides a list of words that are often used for this portion of the test. So again, we have included the link below in the description. Here, I recommend that you don't write tiny and that you watch your handwriting. Because the officer has to be able to read your handwriting, make sure you're not just doing chicken scratch, or as my mom used to ask me sometimes, did you write that with your foot? You don't want to do that. The verbal portion of the English test consists of basically the entire interview where the officer is asking you questions and you're answering. And so through that process, the officer will make the assessment that you are able to speak and understand English to a sufficient degree. Let's move on to the civics portion of the citizenship test. Here, you must answer 6 civics questions correctly in order to pass. The officers will ask you up to a maximum of 10 questions, so you can get 4 wrong and still pass the test. But if you get the first 6 questions right, then the officer will stop right there. If a question has multiple answers, you only need to provide one of those answers for it to count as a correctly answered question. For example, to the question, what is the rule of law? The booklet gives 4 answers. Everyone must follow the law, leaders must obey the law, government must obey the law, and no one is above the law. You don't need to say all of them. If you just said, for example, no one is above the law, that would be enough. There are a few questions on the 100 civics questions list that deal with elected officials. So, name 1 senator from your state. Who is your representative? Meaning the elected official to the House of Representatives. Who is the governor of your state? So questions like that, dealing with elected officials, obviously can have changing answers. So for those, you really want to make sure that you're up to date with the most current information. People have asked me before, what if the officer decides to pick really hard questions for me? Well, you don't have to worry about that because these questions are pre-selected before you even show up. So it's not like the officer is going to look at you and think, I don't like your jacket, I'm going to pick the hard questions. They're already pre-printed and designated. And this also goes for the sentences for the reading and writing portion of the English test. So no need to worry about that. It's really important that you study the 100 questions, the civics questions provided by USCIS. It does not matter if you have a PhD in US history or you're an expert in US civics. It really makes sense to study those 100 questions and the answers because the officer will ask you the question word for word and you want to know what answer they're looking for. So we recommend that you pick up a printed copy of the 100 civics questions at your biometrics or fingerprint appointment. So that way you don't have to print it yourself. However, the exact same thing is available online as a PDF download. In fact, there are many different formats and aids for you to help you study for this. It includes audio, flashcards, self-tests, etc. And we have the link for you below in the description. I want to make a quick note here about the version of the citizenship test. Typically, when you look at stuff, you would expect the most recent date to be the most current thing that you should go by. In this case, that's not true. So you may see online the 2020 citizenship test, the civics questions and study guides that go with that. That is not the one you're going to be using. We are talking about the 2008 civics questions. And those are the ones that will be used at your interview. So the 2020 test actually has more questions. So this is a good thing. So remember to stick to the 2008, not the 2020. The officer will let you know in the citizenship interview whether you've passed the citizenship test or not. And the passage rate for the citizenship test, according to the most recently available statistic, is 91%. And I say that to hopefully help you feel a little bit more comfortable about this. So hopefully you passed. But what do you do or what happens if things aren't going so well? Well, if you don't understand a question, it is totally okay to ask the officer to repeat the question for you. And if you answer and it's incorrect, try not to let that get you spiraling or getting too nervous, because remember, you can get up to 4 questions wrong and still pass the civics portion of the test. And for the English portion, the reading and writing, you get 3 tries each. And so just remember to collect yourself, take a deep breath and move forward. Now, what if you have a brain freeze or something and you actually fail the citizenship test? So all is not lost. USCIS will schedule you for another citizenship test. So at this point, you're not going to lose the probably like a year that you spent in the process of trying to get US citizenship and the filing fee that you pay to USCIS. They will schedule you for a second test. And in this second citizenship test, they won't redo the whole interview. They won't go over the qualifications again, but will actually just do the test to give you a second chance to pass the citizenship test. So we had a client who did not pass the citizenship test at the citizenship interview. And this was, I think, back in 2017. And the person was rescheduled for a second try at the citizenship test. And it was about a little less than 3 months later. And the person passed just fine. And, the person is quite smart and everything, but just got super nervous and like had a brain freeze. So if anything like that happens, don't get too down on yourself. Remember, you get another chance. So I hope this gives you a little more insight into the citizenship test and how to prepare for it and what to expect if things aren't going so well. So again, congratulations on pursuing US citizenship. That really is very exciting, and I wish you the best. Have a wonderful day. Thanks.